So I'll get right into it, all right?
Okay.
All right, so I'm super pumped today to have this opportunity to interview one of my good friends, Jon Anderson, and his experience with Haglund's deformity. Hopefully, if you're a physical therapist or physical therapy student or a runner or you know someone with this condition or you have this condition, hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about the condition. So Jon, thank you so much for doing this. For those of you who do not know Jon Anderson, he was a very successful track and field and cross country runner at Cinnaminson High School in New Jersey. He won multiple state championships, and he also was a Foot Locker finalist. And for those of you that don't know anything about cross country, making it to Foot Locker Nationals in San Diego, it's pretty much the biggest accomplishment that you can make in cross country. So, very successful runner. So Jon, you were a multiple state champion, Foot Locker finalist. What made you choose West Point over, some of the other colleges with maybe some more success on the track?
Yeah, I had an opportunity. I was getting recruited by schools like University of Tennessee, Iona, all the military academies, Oklahoma State. But when I had a conversation with all the coaches, it was Coach Quiller from West Point that really intrigued me the most. He didn't, give me any. She didn't sugarcoat the challenges that we were going to have at West Point, how hard it was going to be. Talked about, 23 credit hours for the first 2 semesters, not really getting the chance to run in the summers because of the military training. But he talked about all the great success. Probably the biggest runner, to come out of West Point is Olympian Dan Brown. He was in the 2000 and 2004
Sure.
Olympics. That's one of his athletes that he coached while at West Point. So, just that challenge of being a great runner like that and then set myself up for success after West Point really intrigued me, and it was good to know that the coach wanted me to do the same thing.
Awesome. Good stuff. So you had a lot of impressive races in college, including the Penn Relays Championship of America 5K, which is a super awesome accomplishment. I was there that day. I was very excited for you. But I also know from our conversations that you weren't completely happy with your track and field and cross country career in college. And I know that you did have some setbacks. If you could describe some of the injuries that you encountered in college and also, if you don't mind, how you went about treating them.
Yeah, sure. First, I say, if I could do it all over again, I'd still go to West Point in a heartbeat. It was definitely a challenge, and maybe I was a little unprepared going into it, but it taught me a lot. I think the biggest problem I had, or especially racing-wise, is the lack of diversity in my racing schedule. I did, probably 60% or 70% of my college races were 5Ks. And then when I did a 10K, it was the week of conference championships. And I usually had the double, either the 5K, 10K, or 10K in a mile. Kind of burning myself out late in the season. So if I can go back, just the whole training wise, I'd keep that diversity, do more 800s, 1500s, maybe a 10K earlier in the season rather than conference championships. But that's probably the biggest thing I did. One of the other things to take into effect, how many credit hours I was taking, how much sleep, lack of sleep I was getting, and then just trying to continue to get my workouts in. Definitely burned the candle from both ends and just didn't leave a lot of time for recovery. Didn't pick that up until midway through my junior year and senior year when I started to make better runs and races, but it was a tough learning curve. As far as keeping away, I kept away most major injuries. I only missed one season out of the 12 seasons in college. I spent a lot of time in the training room. I spent 4 or 5 hours down at our track field house, going out for runs, coming back doing lift and core workouts, and then I'd spend at least an hour and a half hanging out with my athletic trainer, stretching. Even when I wasn't injured, I was trying to do physical therapy for my ankle, and then spending 20, 30 minutes in an ice bath. And then if it was a real tough day, if we had interval sessions, or maybe it was a longer day, I'm just feeling beat up, I would get in the ice bath for 20 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, probably 3-4 sessions. Before I went back up to the barracks and started doing my homework.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit to 2010 when you were actually deployed to Iraq. Most people who go to Iraq are not training post collegiately, but you kept training. But I know when you got over there, you encountered a bit of a setback. If you don't mind elaborating a little bit on that.
Yeah, I was trying to make a program in the Army called the World Class Athlete Program. Essentially, you become a professional runner for the Army. You get to work out full time, you get a paycheck, and then you run in races around the world representing the United States Army. Some of the guys that do it more recently are John Mikowski and Phil Sakala. Mikowski made it to the Olympic finals for the 1500 in 2012. They were my teammates, guys do it out of West Point. I never made it during my time in the Army, mostly because of the injury I got. And it all started back in 2010. I was in Iraq. I just got a platoon. I was trying to do 2 workouts a day on top of my patrols. So once again, just burning out. I had this mentality of never quit. I can push through any of the pain limits. But really, I should have been taking the time to listen to my body and allowing rest and being smart about it. What eventually, or what started out as what I thought just a tight calf or a tight arch. Later, I thought it was Achilles tendonitis. I kept pushing. I figured, I'm either going to rip this thing or it'll get better on its own. I'll just train through the injury. And it didn't. It turned into a 5-year thing that eventually needed surgery.
Jeez. So initially, did you treat the injury, or was there anything that was a bit successful, or things that alleviated the pain, or?
I had a lack of resources for a long time being deployed to Iraq. So I was emailing anybody I could think of, old high school and college trainers, sending them pictures and then my training logs and notes of how I was feeling, asking them for exercises. Nothing really seemed to work. I got to see physician's assistant, PA, when I got to one of the major forward operating bases. And he said, hey, you got Achilles tendonitis, and here's a muscle relaxer. Let's go ahead and take this. I kind of laughed at it, like, man, this guy can't be serious. Didn't even give me an x-ray or asked to give me an MRI. Once again, those are limited resources when you're deployed, but just kind of heard my symptoms and gave me some painkillers for it. It wasn't something I was really, I've never been a big painkiller guy. I think there's a time and place for them, but I don't want to be using them on a daily basis just to get by.
Of course. Wow. Okay. So 2 years later, you go on your second deployment and you're in Afghanistan. Were you able to continue to train, and did the injury get any better at all?
It got a little bit better. When I got back from Iraq, I went back to the orthopedic center in Fort Carson in Colorado. I was requesting to get an MRI or an x-ray, told them about my injury and how long I've had it. They kept telling me, hey, you don't need that this time. Just take some time off and come see us in 3 months if it doesn't go away. So I didn't really want to do it, but I had a month of vacation time after deployment. So I didn't run for 2-3 weeks. Took the time off. And the first day I came back running, it was as painful as it ever been. Looking back, it's almost like plantar fasciitis. Like when you wake up first thing in the morning, it's the worst time. Like it doesn't help that you stayed off your feet. Almost like all that scar tissue was building back up. And it was just waiting to be broken up again. I think that's kind of what happened to me after taking time off. I couldn't get an answer from the Army or any help. I started going outside on my own. I went and saw chiropractors, acupuncture, massage. Started taking yoga classes. And I would get these minor benefits, but it would allow me to keep running. But whenever I did hard efforts or longer runs, the next morning I couldn't walk. I'd be limping around for the first hour or two.
Right. Wow. So you're misdiagnosed several times. You're still injured. But then finally you get the answer that you wanted. Interestingly enough, after going through a biomechanics assessment, and I have a class right now where we're learning a lot about how the biomechanics of the body. So what did you find out?
Yeah, it took me until I got out of the Army. I got into the VA, and they very first time I met with my physician assistant in the Army or the VA, they sent me in for an X-ray and an MRI. It took me 3 months to get my MRI, but when I finally got it, once again they diagnosed me with Achilles tendonitis again. Just that I had inflammation near my Achilles. When you deal with something so long, it's not. You just have that feeling it's not that. And once again, I started going to resources outside. I saw probably almost every doctor in the Colorado Springs and Denver area. And blindly, I went to this guy. I went to something called Pediatric Performance in Colorado Springs. This guy named Ben Burlinson here in Colorado who works with high school and middle school kids to help them become better athletes. But he does gait analysis for them. He was connected with another guy called Grove Higgins, who has a real big background in active release therapy and biomechanics. So they kind of teamed up, and they told me to come in one day. And they spent 3 days with me, watching me run, walk, putting me through different functional movement tests. And I could hear them, and they would give me like little snippets of what they thought it was, but it wasn't until the end of the 3rd day that they gave me their full diagnosis. And they sat down with me and looked at my MRI and X-ray imagery and pointed out to me, like, hey, you have this Haglund's deformity, and that's going to be pointing, and it's going to be putting pressure on your bursa and your Achilles tendon. And that's what's causing the inflammation in that area. Because every time you run, you've screwed yourself up. My body was adapting and compensating. So to try to alleviate or prevent the rupture of my Achilles tendon, I was supinating like crazy, and had limited dorsiflex. My talus muscle or my talus bone was locking up. So it was this chain action of events that happened because I've been running through the injury for so long. I pretty much adapted a whole new running form.
Jeez.
So it was kind of scary to hear that. Because at first I was like, man, now I'm gonna have to, retrain my entire gait, and now I have to get this surgery. But we spent 3 months just trying to work through the biomechanics of it, using something called Z-Health and joint mobility drills. But eventually, the pain just kept coming back, so we went and pursued orthopedic surgery to cut the Haglund's deformity away.
Gotcha. So I didn't know what it was until we had chatted, and I'm sure most people out there have never heard of Haglund's deformity. If you could just kind of in layman's terms explain what it is, I think people might learn a lot, because it is kind of an uncommon, or maybe it is more common than most would know, the condition itself.
Yeah, I don't think I ever heard of it. We were at a track meet in high school up in the Armory, one of those Thursday night meets or Eastern Safe something. And, I went down to see the trainer for something. He looked at my high arches, and I had this small bump on the back of my heel back then too. And he goes, "You better get that taken care of now. You're gonna have issues with that later on in life." I was like, "Man, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "Yeah, I forget if he told me it's Haglund's deformity or not." But he's like, "You're being a high arch runner who runs on his toes. One day you're gonna have problems with your heels." And I was like, "Man, this guy's crazy. I'm young. I'm invincible." And I just walked out of the office.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you look at the X-ray imagery of a Haglund's deformity, basically it's a bone spur or a calcification that develops in the back of the heel, and it looks like a hook that kind of comes out of the calcaneus joint. And what that little pointy hook does is it starts, like I said, jabbing into the heel bursa, the calcaneus bursa, and my Achilles tendon, which just causes a spew of issues, most of all just a ton of inflammation that would never go away because it was constantly being aggravated.
So you mentioned you had surgery last year. How common, for someone out there that thinks they might have this condition, or just in general, how common is a surgery for someone with Haglund's deformity?
So it's funny because I've had probably 4 or 5 guys who I've run with in the past, both in high school, college, teammates, and people I run against, who read my blog or heard about my surgery and said, "Hey, I think I have the same thing you have. Everyone keeps diagnosing me with Achilles tendonitis, but the treatment's not helping." So I told them to go get X-ray and MRI imagery as quick as they could and look for that little hook in the back of the calcaneal joint. But I think the surgery itself scares a lot of people. it's a long recover. I'm coming up on 6 months now, and I just started running again. I mean, I live in Colorado, so you're having year-round fun. You know, in the summer you want to be out running or hiking.
Of course, yeah.
In the winter, everyone wants to be skiing. I mean, there's 3-4 months there. I was on my couch, and I would only be able to leave my couch to go to physical therapy, you know, because I was trying to keep the inflammation down. So just that lack of, you know, mobility for people, or, you know, not being able to go do what you want scares people. So they'd rather deal with the pain. But for me, I couldn't even walk without having pain. It was affecting my daily life. I'm usually a go happy person, but
of course,
after walking around for an hour or two, like, I had to sit down from the pain. Yeah, it's just something I wanted to get over.
Gotcha. So you have this really cool blog that I'm going to throw the link up on here, redlegrunners.com, and you go into extensive specifics of your rehabilitation process, and it's really cool. And anyone who's interested in this should definitely check it out. I don't want to get too into the specifics of your rehabilitation process, but I'm in physical therapy school. I know a lot of physical therapists. I work with a lot of runners. You're running now, and that's pretty much the end goal is to run again. So, was there anything that you encountered in this process? Was there anything that the physical therapist did? Was there anything that you can give advice to someone who's going through this, or a PT for the future, to just be able to deal and help someone get back to the level that you want to get back to?
Yeah, I guess there's a couple of ways to go with this. First, I mean, in my search to find the answer, I ran into some great physical therapists, and then, you know, people I thought were just, you know, ignorant or weren't really educated or willing to help me. I think listening to the patient as a physical therapist is a tough job. You know, you obviously have an educational background, you know what you're looking for, but I felt like I was being treated for symptoms rather than looking for the root of the cause for a long portion of that time until I got Dr. Grove Higgins. So I think that's it for you. How you guys approach that in physical therapy, biomechanics might be the best way to do it, but, you know, I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of those physical therapists or medical field, even runners, do, is just treat the symptoms. You know, find out why it is you're supinating or why it is that your glutes not activating. I'm sorry, what was the rest of the question?
No, it's okay. Maybe specific to the Haglund's deformity, was there something that you found once your PT started doing, you were just like, wow, I'm feeling really good right now, or I have more range, or this muscle feels stronger?
Yeah, definitely then Z Health. I think you and I talked about that last month a little bit. Z Health is a way of training the central nervous system using a combination of vision, joint mobility drills, and vestibular. You know, so your balance. When you put all three of those things together, it's your body's way of minimizing threat and pain levels. And for me, that's been humongous. I mean, we've been doing everything from increasing my vision and my balance when I was laid up for a month on the bed. I was in there doing different drills, so I could be ready and have, you know, those tools ready to go. And then keep that proprioception. I mean, doing something as simple as toe curls and toe waves. When I was laid up with my cast, keeping that blood flow and mobility going. You know, so whether it's, I think there's always a way to keep that mobility going, no matter how far along you are in your recovery process. But you know, whether you use Z Health or something else, you know, definitely have that mindset of getting ready to go and keep continuing the health.
Cool. So you're back running now. I know you had your first strides. Maybe it was about 2 weeks ago. So a non-health related question, as a track fan, what are the goals for the next few months, or for this year, or for maybe the rest of your career?
Yeah, I mean, long term, I'm trying to give one more shot back at competitive running. Probably going to miss in this Olympic season, but I'd love to take a run and qualify for the 2017 Track and Field National Championships. I mean, after that, I think it'll be time to grow up again. But you know, running's my first passion. I want to get back out there and get involved with that. short term, just getting back in the running. Right now I'm doing 5 by 1 minute intervals on the treadmill. Probably be doing that for another 2-3 weeks, and then hopefully start running outdoors and get back hitting the trails.
Cool. Very good stuff. You got to start somewhere, right?
You do.
Well, assuming that I can keep up with the technology of doing these videos and keeping my website going, it'd be awesome to get some kind of update in another year or so, hopefully when things are going well. Really appreciate you doing this, and then hopefully those that are viewing it, they got something out of it and they learned a thing or two. I know I definitely did through our conversation. So
Yeah.
thank you very much, man. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Dave.